Now in production, we didn't shoot this in true perspective. We shot all the passes without moving the camera, the lights, or the talent. This caused the lighting not to change between each character. This could be a stylistic approach in certain situations. Once your talent is in position, remember to always white balance and focus. Add markers for eye lines, movements, or even interactions with props. Always practice the timing. With the Agent Smith, I recommend shooting the foreground plates in the correct perspective. It will not only keep the eye lines more accurate, but add natural lighting. Shoot all your passes in clean focus. You have control of depth of field in compositing. If you shoot your shot with the focus slightly off, you are stuck with the shot or layer that cannot be fixed in compositing. And remember, always watch the reflections in the sunglasses. A trick to diffuse some of the reflections that enter into the sunglasses, it's best to place a waxy substance such as Carmex or even chapstick. We also attempted the shot without placing backlights or edge lights on the subject to see if we could still pull off a good key. Certain layers may look better flipped depending on the eye lines, but remember that the lighting will also be flipped on the subject. Also in our composite, we enlarged the three front characters 150%, causing them to look somewhat out of focus. So as I said in the past, I recommend that you shoot the three closest characters, or if you attempt a shot where characters are close to the camera, that they should be in correct perspective. When you open a new project file for After Effects, you're most likely going to come to a default workspace. We'll clean up this workspace a little bit so you'll be more efficient in your compositing. The effects and presets can actually be accessed through a drop-down menu from above. Your time controls can actually be manipulated in the timeline. And since we didn't record audio, it's not necessary to have audio. Once you have your layout to your liking, you can save your layout and name it. So if you ever need to go back to it in the future, you'll always have the same presets. Now we have 10 different shots of Agent Smith that need to be composited into one. To make it easy and work in sections, create separate compositions for all separate passes. In that composition, you'll add a mask, which is also called a garbage matte in Premiere and Final Cut. What that does is get rid of unwanted objects or unlit green screens from the shot. From there, you add your green screen key. I chose the rectangle rather than the point because a point will just select a certain number of pixels, where a rectangle will select a wide variety of pixels. You can then put it into, instead of a rough preview, set it in, get used to working in matte. And what the matte will do is switch it to black and white. Anything that is black is going to be removed from the shot, and anything that is white is going to be composited in. It's more accurate when trying to key your green screen. We use a particular green screen plugin called Premac here. That gives the choice of selecting a wide range of pixels throughout the shot rather than just sampling one particular color. When you are finished, you notice somewhat of a green halo and also green spill. So we add spill removal, and that's through Composite Wizard. What that does is add its complementary colors. So if you use blue, it's going to use its complementary. If you use green, it's going to use red to get rid of it. So from there, you also add edge blur. That helps not only to blend that particular layer into the scene, but also gets rid of unmanipulated pixels from the green screen key. Now you will create a new composition for your rough composite. When I originally created a rough comp for the Agent Smith duplication, everything seemed overlapping with a 16:9 aspect ratio. Well, Matrix shot in a 2:3:5:1 ratio, giving us more room to work with and have more space in between our characters. So after I did the rough, we reset our composition settings to the original aspect ratio that the Matrix was shot in. For reference, I placed the Agent Smith shot into the scene so I could resize for correct perspective. When you are resizing your talent, it helps to look at the eyes, nose, and mouth, and even ears sometimes to match it. Once perspective is applied to all the layers, you can then delete the reference plate. Remember that the layers that are further to the background are on the bottom. Now is a good time to adjust your timing and your eye lines, and then also do an export to see if it's correct in real-time playback. As you notice, there's a few gaps in our composite. Those can be filled in by using black fabric. You can create those by duplicating a layer and matting out everything except part of the suit. You can then bring that in to your composite, edge blend it, and it's very seamless. Now you will add your color correction to all your foreground layers to match the background. When we added green, it gave us an unsatisfying look, but we found out if we subtracted red, it gave us the Matrix tone along with it blending well with the background plate. Remember to add the color correction to the black fills that you created in your scene. Once you are satisfied, you will then take the background plate from the matrix. We used the original background plate from the matrix. I found a section where there was the least amount of Agent Smiths in the shot, and you can position that background plate as needed. We duplicated it twice, and it is seamless because we have our foreground characters actually hiding where the seam is. From there, we need to add our depth of field. They have an effect called Super Rack Focus. You put it on all the layers behind the first row, besides the 3 foreground characters. Depending on the depth of field you want, you defocus the layers gradually as the talent's distance between the camera and the subject changes. When we applied Super Rack Focus to all the background layers, an edge had shown up. We want to blend that edge in, so we added a matte feather to blend the foreground layers into the background plate. To also enhance the fact that these characters are in the environment, they have an effect called Light Wrap. That's also by Composite Wizard. You add those to the back layers, not the front 3 talents. The Light Wrap will analyze the background plate. It will analyze the color, brightness, and contrast, and estimates a light spill that will come onto your foreground talents. Create another composition called Final. Here's where you finish your last final touches, such as brightness and contrast, maybe a final color correction, and more importantly, to add the denoiser. That's also a Composite Wizard effect. I've noticed with green screen that you get some unwanted noise during the keying process. By adding very small amounts of the denoiser properties, gives a nice, even, subtle look over the final composite. With the denoiser, you have to watch out because you can have unwanted results by adding too much noise removal.